G is interchangeable in Semitic languages. Gimad becomes either J or G. Grew, Greek, Jew, the same. Gentiles. What does God warn us about the Gentiles? He does in the book of Psalms, chapter 2. When he starts off, why do the
heathens rage?
When you look up the word heathen in the Torah, you find the word goyim, which is a Hebrew word Gentiles. But the translators who were goyim, the King James and them were Gentiles. So why you holding the King James Bible? You're holding the Bible by a man who knows that he's a cursed seed, and he has to funnel words so that you will not find the truth. But when you look into the language, you say, why do the heathens what?
Rage.
And do what?
And the people imagine a vain thing.
What do they do next?
The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together.
Against who?
The Lord against his anointed.
Now when you look up the word anointed there, you get the word Messiah. Messiah. You see that?
That's right.
So Christ and his father in the proper term is mentioned way back in Psalms before he was even born. That's why he said before Abraham I am. And if you look at that quote, and now go back to where we started, St. John's chapter 1, verse 41.
He first findeth his own brother, Simon Peter, and saith unto him, we have found the Messiah, which is being interpreted the Christ.
Read it again.
He first findeth his own brother, Simon, and saith unto him, we have found the Messiah, which is being interpreted the Christ.
What did we just find out just happened?
Somebody's interpreting.
We found out that when the Bible got out of the hands of the Hebrew language, got out of the hands of Abraham's seed, whom God made the covenant with. And prior to Abraham, Noah, God made a perpetual covenant with his seed. Throughout all generations, he said, an everlasting covenant. So now what would you do if you was on the planet and you came to the realization that the Elohim, the Yahweh, or the Elion El, or the Shaddai, or the Jah-Iri, what would you do if you found out that the creator of the universe didn't have you in his family book? How would you feel if as you start to trace back through the scriptures, you don't find yourself? When you get back and you see in the courts of Solomon, a woman stands up and says, I'm black but comely, or simply, I'm black with Hasana, I'm black and beautiful, Toyaba in Hebrew. He said, these are people calling themselves black. And then you go look at the name Ham, and it means scorched, burnt black, which they translate now as hot. Which comes out to be the land Sudan, which happens to translate as Sod, Aswad, black in Jesus' language. Then you go to land Cush. Cush is in the Bible as Ethiopia. Even in Greek, Ethiopia means burnt faces.
That's right.
You hear me? But then in the Bible, in the dictionary, you look it up, it means black skin. So now we're back to Noah, who God gives a what? A perpetual covenant to his seed. Genesis 9:9, read it then, lock it up.
Behold, I establish my covenant with you and with your seed after you.
Go ahead. There's a perpetual you missed.
and with every living creature that is with you, of the fowl, of the cattle, and of every beast of the earth with you, from all that go out of the ark to every beast of the earth. And I will establish my covenant with you. Neither shall all flesh be cut off any more by the waters of the flood. Neither shall there be any more flood to destroy the earth. And God said, this is the token of the covenant which I make between me and you and every living creature that is with you for perpetual generations.
Thank you. So the covenant that God made with Noah's seed and every living creature that was in the ark Because he said comes out of the ark, which was all of Noah's seed and the animals, was for how long?
Perpetual. Forever.
God made a covenant. Now, when we go back to the Bible and hold up a Bible dictionary so that we don't sound like racists, but we sound like historians, because when you start talking about the Bible and color, you become a racist when we do it. But when they draw white pictures of Jesus and kneeling down in front of rocks and shoulder length fur, not here. I mean, give us the image of the beast and have us worshiping his image. If I step in and say, excuse me, sir, but Jesus didn't look like that according to the Bible. He definitely didn't look like that geographically, where he was born and located, because if you go to Galilee now in Bethlehem, the nigger tribes are still there.
Still there, that's right.
They're still living in Israel today. They're just as black as ever, nappy hair as ever. You understand? You may run around Tel Aviv and find a bunch of Germans and Russians and French and Polish who have came over, adopted to our religion, call themselves Israeli. You may find a bunch of Palestinians who have adopted to our religion, call themselves Muslims, but are not. Because Abraham was a Muslim. And the Quran says Abraham named you Muslims before Muhammad did. And Abraham was a Chaldean of Syrian birth. You follow that? And if you do any research of Chaldean Syria or Assyria or Ashur, as the Bible puts it in the 10th chapter, you're back amongst Negroes again.
That's right.
People don't like to hear this truth. Especially our people. They have accepted the position of a Gentile. They have accepted that they are second-class citizens.
That's right.
And now they got white preachers, because they got more money than us, can have bigger churches looking like they are really carrying on God's work because they're able to do it financially. Because Nelson Publication can put out a Bible. And you go to any Bible store, you can go to a shelf and see 10, 15 different translations of the Bible by Nelson Publication alone.
That's right.
Or Xanavin. But you don't see any Bibles by any black churches.
No, you don't.
Or any black scholars.
No, you don't.
None done. Okay, you say, well, it's the Heritage Bible, done out of Howard University, but they had restrictions. They had to stay within.
That's right.
They had to stay as close to the King James Version as possible. Because if they didn't do that, they would reveal too many secrets. One of the secrets they reveal is that his name is not Christ. That's a Hindu word. And that the Bible, as we just read in St. John's chapter 1, verse 41, tells us that they found him as the Messiah, or the Messiah, or Messiah, and then did what?
Interpreted it.
What does interpretation mean?
Changed it.
Why? The point is, if they can put the word Messiah in the verse and expect us to be able to read that, you mean be able to pronounce it because it's written, so why is it necessary to interpret it? If I can read that he first found his own brother Simon and said, we have found the Messiah. But I'm reading Messiah, so I don't need interpretation Christ. Unless you are trying to translate me out of the spirit, of the sound, of the language that would link me to God.
That's right.
Unless you're trying to pull me away because you want me to say things. See, if you're walking down the street and you're way over there and I'm going, yo, Bill, and your name happens to be Josh, chances are you won't turn around.
That's true.
Are you with me?
Yes, we are.
Chances are you will know I'm not talking to you. So now here we are in the shores and we're saying, God help me. Christ help me. And we're still on the bottom of the totem pole.
That's right.
When we read about ourselves in the book, under King David and under Solomon and under Abraham and all the other black folks there, they were rich.
Yes, we were.
They were powerful. They built kingdoms and lands. We set up whole lands.
Great
temples, altars, golden altars, the Bible says.
That's right.
We were dragged into captivity more than 10 times throughout the Bible and still came out and set ourselves up.
Every time.
Every time. And we are in bondage again.
That's the truth.
But you know why we're in bondage? Huh? Say what? I didn't hear it clear enough. Because we turn away from our God. And we start chasing other people's gods.
That's right.
We turn away from our way of life and pick up religion. We start saying things like Jesus Christ, God, which is German, Gut. And my brother said, no, it's not God, it's Yahweh. Oh, he must be from the cult, from the Yahweh Ben Yahweh people.
Huh?
See, the devil got it all fixed up. Whenever we try to rectify something, he got a name for it, cult. Oh, the Nawabians, oh, they're a cult. They don't believe what we believe. Maybe not. Maybe we don't believe what you believe because we're going by the language and you're going by translations by Greeks who are Gentiles who got with the kings against the Lord and the Messiah.
That's right.
That's what it says right there. Against the Lord and his anointed. Psalms chapter 2. They are against the word Messiah. That's why they don't want you to use it. They don't want you to talk about John, son of Zebedee. They want you to talk about Peter, Paul, Titus, Silas,
That's right.
Timothy. Thank you.
That's right.
They don't want to hear you talk about the one that Jesus himself said, I have to say Jesus so you know what I'm talking about,
That's right.
is his beloved. Why is it that preachers are not constantly quoting John throughout the television broadcast? They're always quoting something that they say Paul said.
All the time.
If John is the one that Jesus loved, then shouldn't we love John?
Yes, we should.
If John is the one that Jesus has blessed, shouldn't we look for the words of John?
Yes, we should.
But every one of them Caucasian preachers stuffed down our throats. Paul. Why? Because Paul was not even a Hebrew.
No, he wasn't.
Paul is an admitted liar. Paul, like we read last week, said he built it on his own foundation. He ain't building on another man's foundation, insulting Christ. Right? And somebody said it. He even changed his name. He was a FBI.
That's the truth.
Y'all laughing?
That's the truth.
Paul was an FBI agent, mixed breed of Roman, and they said he was a Benjaminite because his family was in Benjamin. I visited Trinidad and I saw Chinese people there.
That don't make them Trinidad.
And they had a Trinidadian accent. I saw Indians there, and they had a Trinidadian accent. But I knew daggone well they wasn't Trinidadian. Because all I had to do was look at him and say, you Chinese or Japanese or Korean, you definitely ain't no Trinidadian. Now you can open a Trinidadian store and sell roti, but you still a Japanese or a Chinese open a roti store in Trinidad.
That's right.
You can walk around here and play like you an Indian in Trinidad, but you an Indian in Trinidad. You understand? Well, y'all the tribe of Judah in America. Now you can walk around here and say you American Negroes and Afro-Americans and all other things and Muslims and everything else you want to call yourself, but you still the tribe of Judah in America.
That's right.
You're still in a new bondage. Mentioned in Genesis chapter 15, not to be mistaken with the bondage of 430 years that our brothers went through while in Egypt. Genesis chapter 15 verse 22. But rather a bondage under the Amorites in America. The new Babylon. And now if you put it in perspective, you get Shem, nigger in the middle, and Japheth. Now the chances of a parent having one white kid or one Chinese kid, one Negro, a Melaninite, and then one something else, come on. Face it, Shem is as black as Ham.
That's right.
And Japheth is as black as Ham.
That's right.
And Shem, Ham, and Japheth were Negroes. Ain't nothing wrong with it, white folks. We listened to it for 400 years without a problem. Is it going to bother you when you find out the truth and then you're going to show the world that you really don't have no faith? Because we as black folks accepted it when you was pumping out movies and books and pictures and videos. We accepted Jesus as white without even a question. Before we were wise enough, when we was taken out of our land, stripped of our language and our sense of consciousness, we better not be caught saying something about a white man back then.
You better not.
We got linked to, we even thought on our own. You hear me? But now that we are able to think on our own, and some of us are wise enough to master the languages, and now we come back and say, hello, let's set the record straight. Black men and women lived under Christianity by mere faith in God.
Yes, we did.
We didn't care. If Jesus Christ was purple, satchels, green, or spotted, we didn't care. Because that's not why we worshiped him. Because we wasn't caught up on the race thing. We was caught up on the grace thing.
Oh, yeah.
You understand?
Yes, we do.
We was interested in the grace. What were we not interested in? The race. We didn't know about racism. You had to call me a nigger. And because I wasn't educated, I had to ask you what it meant. Because it wasn't in my language. Because I find it in Acts chapter 13 and it's Greek again. Right. Something introduced by the Gentiles. Read Acts chapter 13,
Verse 1. Now there were in the church that was at Antioch certain prophets and teachers, as Barnabas and Simon that was called Nigger.
Hello. Let's get something straight. I talked about this last week just for a minute. Let me do it again. One thing we want to see is what kind of person was called a nigger. You understand what I'm saying? Let's just check out what the Bible calls a nigger. Because they got the word nigger right there. When you look it up in Greek, it means black skin. They got a whole bunch of stupid things that people say. It's right there in the Bible. The Greeks used it.
That's right. The
Greeks called one of Jesus' own disciples a nigger. But he was more than just a disciple, y'all. If you read the word of God, you're going to find out he's something else. Read it again.
Now there were in the church that was at Antioch certain prophets.
Stop. Hello.
He was a prophet.
Hello. Homeboy was a nibber. A nibber. The Hebrew word nibber means a prophet. You understand? Jesus said a prophet is without honor in his own house. That's because this country here belongs to Native Americans, of which we are related to, and we get no respect.
No, we don't.
You know what I'm saying? For one. But that man there was Simeon, Simon, which means God listens to him. That's what the word Simeon means in Hebrew. God listens. But what was he? He was a prophet of God. Say it again.
Now there were in the church that was at Antioch certain prophets.
Prophets? Hello. Go ahead.
And teachers.
Go ahead. Well, don't go too far. What else was he?
A teacher.
The brother, homeboy, you know, my dog, was not just a prophet. He didn't only have prophetic ability, but he also was a teacher.
That's right.
See, they are training you in the churches now to be preachers. They don't want you to do what I'm doing.
No, they don't.
They don't want you to sit up there and teach and break down each word and allow yourself to be cross-examined and questioned. I don't see that. I see a lot of showmanship. I see a lot of entertaining taking place, but I don't see no knowledge. And I don't see none of them predicting the things that's going to happen and they come true.
No, you don't.
So if you're a disciple of the Messiah, you have the ability to foresee events that's going to come true. So you can do what? Warn the people.
That's right.
And in warning the people, you become a prophet.
That's right.
And while you're warning them, you have to teach them. See, what goes on in this section, which is real deep, and if you take the time to study it, you're going to find out that that same man, Simeon, got away from Paul. He ran away from him. He said he's teaching his own doctrine, got his own spirit, and got his own Christ. He literally says it. And they ran from him because they told Paul, come on, Paul, let's go visit John, the one that Jesus loved. Let's go to Jerusalem. No more going through the Isles of Greece and Patmos and Antioch. Let's go on home to Jerusalem and recharge ourselves, because there's a man living in Jerusalem right now. You understand? And Jesus loved him. He got the truth. Let's go there. Paul said no. Read your Bible, you find this is true. Paul said no and went up and set up his own church. And most of y'all are in that church right now. You're not in Jesus' congregation. You're in Paul's congregation, his own church. You hear me? He got you using the word Christ and not
37.
Now, what book were we in when we saw the word Messiah?
John.
Say it again.
John.
We were in the book of who?
John.
And who's John?